All right, welcome back to the Wealth Outside of Wall Street channel, where we learn how to take our money off of Wall Street and retire in 10 years or less. Now today we're going to be in part 2 of a Not All Debt is Bad video series. And in this video, I'm going to help you see the math and the numbers behind why debt and inflation can actually make you wealthy. That's why this channel was created, and that's why you are here. You want to create wealth not when you're 80 or 90 and too old to enjoy it, but you want to create wealth in the next 10 years or less. And the only way to do that is understanding what I'm going to be sharing with you today, and it's not available on Wall Street. You cannot do anything that I'm sharing with you in this video with your money parked in a 401k. When your money's over there, you become the hamster in the hamster wheel, running faster and faster, working harder and harder, hoping that one day the carrot is just right around the corner, only to find yourself running out of time and putting your dreams on the back burner. My friends, it's the second you step out of the hamster wheel that you realize there is a whole new world of opportunity that isn't available in Wall Street that is now available to you. So I want you to start this video with a question in the back of your mind. What if inflation and debt could make you wealthy? Now, up to this point, you probably believe that both debt and inflation are making you less wealthy. Now, I get it, I understand. I've been to the grocery store in the last couple of months and years as well, and it's more expensive than ever before because of inflation to live the life that we actually want to live. But I want you to consider this. Inflation for most people is a headwind. It's working against them. For every step forward that they're taking 2 steps back because inflation is making their dollars less and less and less valuable. But what if we just shift the position? What if inflation was now behind you rather than in front of you? What if with every step that you took, your path and your pace was now accelerated because inflation is working for you? And what if in your desire to be financially free, you knew you had access to millions of dollars backed by your constitutional right to now put into assets where inflation start working for you and to make you financially free? My friends, that's what happens when you get off that hamster wheel, and that's what we're going to be covering in this video. To give you a little bit of perspective, I'm going to start off with the conventional path. We're going to take $30,000, and all we're going to do is we're going to look at what if we took $30,000 and we put it in the Wall Street system, or what if we took that same $30,000 and we put it in the wealth outside of Wall Street system where inflation is working for us. We're going to look at it from these 2 different perspectives to evaluate which one creates more wealth. Now remember, wealth isn't just a function of how much money you have. Wealth is a function of how much options you have, the lifestyle that you're able to use using money as a tool. So if we took that $30,000 and you parked it in a 401k, I'm going to give you the best case scenario. What if over the next 30 years, that $30,000 is compounding at a 7% annual return? There's no fees, there's no taxes, it's just growing and compounding at 7%. Now you might be thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be rich, I'm gonna be wealthy. If I'm getting a 7% compounding return, I'm gonna go to the moon. You'll open up your 401k and you'll be jumping up and down saying, oh my gosh, I did it, I'm a millionaire. Now, remember, all we're looking at is one chunk of $30,000. So if $30,000 in a 401k can and will compound to $270,000, then you're just gonna keep putting all of the money that you can into this account. But we have to take a step back. Walk with me to the future, okay? We're talking about this where you're at today, but you have to now step into your future and say 30 years from now, when I have that $270,000, what can I do with it? What can I buy with it? What options are available to me? Here's the crazy part. Now, we're all told that inflation is good. It's a natural part of the economy. I'm gonna save that single topic for another video because inflation is not a natural part of the economy. Inflation is created by a government who is obsessed with printing money. What most people think is a healthy rate of inflation is 3%. Now, in the last couple of years, we've experienced 7, 8, 9, 10, 15% rates of inflation, depending on where you look and who you ask. But let's just say that inflation over the next 30 years stays at that healthy 3% inflation rate. What that means is your $270,000 30 years from now, what you've been saving for, everything you wanted to buy, that $270,000 only feels like or buys like $112,000. So when you start taking your money out and start exchanging it for all the things you want to do, it's only going to give you the same spending power of $112,000. Now you might be thinking to yourself, that kind of sucks. That just cut my balance in more than half. I don't know about you, but I believe inflation is far higher than 3%. My friends, I hope you can see and understand that your dollars are getting destroyed by inflation. Inflation is part of the economy because of what the government did in 1971. Now that we understand that inflation is literally destroying our 401k, let's look at the other side of the equation. I started this video saying that debt and inflation can actually make you wealthy. Now it all depends on where you put your money. So let's say we take that same $30,000 and we decide to go out and buy a rental property with it, okay? We go out into into the rental market and we find a wonderful 3-bedroom, 2-bath property valued at $150,000. Now, we might be thinking to ourselves, oh crap, I want to buy that property, but I don't have $150,000. I only have $30,000. Well, my friends, you're in luck, because now debt is your asset, not your liability. You get to take that property, we get to go to the bank and say, hey bank, guess what? Because our money is now debt, not real money anymore, it's debt, we get to go to the bank and say, I've got this asset, a piece of property at $150,000. There's renters that are going to pay the rent for me, and I need to access $120,000 in a mortgage. Guess what the bank's going to do? They're going to say, hey, congratulations, you empire builder. You must have been watching the Wealth Outside of Wall Street channel because you now know the rules of the game to win with money. They're going to give you $130,000. Now the bank is going to win. They're going to charge you an interest rate on that mortgage. So with a $120,000 mortgage at a 6% interest rate, your payment back to the bank is going to be about $900 every single month. Now, as a good investor, you've secured a property where someone's going to pay rent, and let's say that that property can rent today for $1,300 a month. My friends, these numbers are happening all over the place inside of our community every single day. Buying a property at $150, renting it out for $1,300. In fact, the rent is actually kind of low, and I'm doing that on purpose to show you how easy it is to build wealth when debt and inflation are working for you, not against you. Your payment back to the bank is a 30-year fixed payment. In this case, we're going to buy a property and we're going to hold it for the next 30 years. So we're going to get a 30-year fixed mortgage. Now, what that means is your payment of $900 is going to stay fixed over the next 30 years. And as you pay the bank back 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, because of inflation, inflation is now working for you because you're paying the bank back with less and less and less valuable dollars over time. So over your next 30 years, the value of that real estate is going to go from $150,000, what you bought it for, to 10 years from now at a 5% inflation rate, it's valued at $244,000. Meaning 10 years from now, if you went out to buy the exact same property, you would have to come out of pocket with $244,000 to buy the same property, right? We've seen this all across the world. Anywhere you go, real estate is more and more and more and more expensive. This is because of inflation. But now because you've positioned yourself with inflation than against inflation, inflation is now making you wealthy. It just put $100,000 in your pocket because you use debt to buy an asset that is rising with inflation. Now, 20 years from now, that same property that you bought at $150,000 is now valued at $397,000. 30 years from now, that same property would have a market value of $648,000. All you did is bought an asset and let inflation make you wealthy. In the meantime, what's been happening with your mortgage? Every single year, you've been paying the bank back slowly, surely over time as your renters are paying the mortgage on your behalf. In 10 years, you would have created $118,000 of equity, meaning between what the property is valued at and what you owe on the property, there's $118,000 of real value, real equity inside of that property. That $648,000 is 100% accessible to you, 100% tax-free as debt. Now, to get back to the piece of property, over the same 30-year period of time, what happens as inflation goes up? Well, the cost of living goes up. It's more expensive to buy gas, it's more expensive to buy groceries, and it's more expensive to rent properties. As you own this property, you get to raise your rents. Now, I would not encourage you to raise this excessively, and I wouldn't encourage you to be, a landlord that is trying to drive your tenants out. Be a good quality landlord. Give a good quality place for good tenants to live in, but at the same time, make sure that your rent is rising with inflation. So what that ultimately means, you started renting the property at $1,300 a month, but in 10 years, because of the rate of inflation, you now have the opportunity to rent that same property at $2,100 a month. 30 years from now, the same property at the same cost of living would rent out for $5,600 a month. Now, this single action of understanding debt and inflation just made you wealthy. Rather than having a 401k that's getting less and less valuable over time, you're getting wealthier and wealthier over time, not because you're a genius, but because you understand the rules of the game. You now have a solid understanding because of the Wealth Outside of Wall Street channel that winning the game is all about your income. It's all about your spendable cash flow, not your net worth. So my friends, if you want to go from fighting against your financial plan to actually allowing the economic forces to work for your financial plan, here's what I want you to do. I want you to comment debt below. If you comment debt below, I'll give you some additional resources to help you build your wealth. So let me know what your questions are below, and I'll come in and I'll answer those questions one by one for you to ensure that you align yourself with the economic forces instead of letting those economic forces destroy your wealth, destroy your retirement, and ultimately destroy your happiness. So thank you so much for your time today. I know this was a heavy topic, but I hope you got a new perspective on what's possible with your money and with your life. So I'll see you on the next video.